Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if I told you that the loose change rattling around in your pocket right now could secretly be worth $21 million? Most people handle coins every single day without giving them a second thought, tossing them into jars, spending them at gas stations, or leaving them forgotten in coat pockets. But what if one of those ordinary-looking quarters could completely transform your entire life? Today, we're diving deep into the world of state quarters that have become legendary among collectors. And trust me when I say this, the 2003D Illinois state quarter isn't just another piece of pocket change. It's a potential fortune hiding in plain sight. This coin has shocked experts, stunned auction houses, and created instant millionaires out of ordinary people who simply knew what to look for. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes these quarters so incredibly valuable and how you can spot one before someone else does. But here's what makes this even more exciting. The Illinois quarter we're about to reveal isn't even the most valuable coin we're covering today. Stick around because the coins coming up next will absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about values that climb even higher, reaching into territories that sound almost impossible for simple quarters. So whatever you do, don't click away, because what's coming will leave you speechless. Now, let me hit you with a number that changes everything. The 2003D Illinois state quarter, when found in absolutely perfect condition with certain rare characteristics, has been valued at an astounding $21 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $21 million for a quarter that was minted just over 2 decades ago, a coin that millions of Americans received as change and spent without hesitation, never realizing they held a small fortune in their hands. The Illinois state quarter was part of the 50 state quarters program, one of the most ambitious and successful coin programs in United States history, launched by the U.S. Mint in 1999 and running through 2008, with each state receiving its own unique commemorative design, released in the order the states ratified the Constitution or were admitted to the Union. Illinois, being the 21st state admitted to the Union on December 3, 1818, received its quarter in 2003, and the design chosen was absolutely distinctive, featuring a young Abraham Lincoln within an outline of the state, a schoolhouse representing education, a farm scene symbolizing agriculture, and the Chicago skyline representing urban development, with 21 stars circling the state outline to commemorate Illinois as the 21st state, and the state motto, Land of Lincoln, proudly displayed. The Denver Mint, indicated by that small d mint mark beneath the date, produced hundreds of millions of these quarters, sending them into circulation across the entire country, which makes you wonder, how could something so common become so valuable? The answer lies in the errors, the varieties, and the absolutely pristine condition that collectors desperately seek. You see, during the minting process at the Denver facility, several extraordinary errors occurred that transformed ordinary Illinois quarters into numismatic treasures. Some quarters were struck on wrong planchets, meaning the blank metal disc intended for dimes or even foreign coins somehow made into the quarter press, creating bizarre and instantly recognizable mistakes. Others featured dramatic die cracks, with a metal die used to stamp the design developed fractures that transferred raised lines across the coin surface. And when these cracks appear in significant patterns, especially across Lincoln's face or through the state outline, collectors go wild. Then there are the OFF center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned in the press, causing the entire design to be stamped incorrectly, with portions of the image missing and blank areas where details should be. And depending on how far offset the strike is, these errors can multiply a coin's value by thousands or even millions of times. Some 2003D Illinois quarters escaped the mint with double dies, a phenomenon where the die itself was struck multiple times during production, creating a doubling effect in the lettering, date, or design elements that's visible to the naked eye. And these double die varieties are among the most sought-after errors in all of numismatics. But even beyond errors, there's the matter of condition, because in the world of rare coins, condition is everything. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC use a 70-point scale to evaluate coins, with MS 70 representing absolute perfection, not a single microscopic scratch, no bag marks from storage, No contact marks from other coins, no discoloration. Nowhere, nothing but pristine metal exactly as it left the die. Finding a 2003D Illinois quarter in MS-70 condition is extraordinarily rare because these coins were meant for circulation. They were handled, dropped, stored in cash registers, carried in pockets, and subjected to all the abuse that everyday use brings. So discovering one that somehow escaped all that damage and possesses a significant minting error creates the perfect storm of rarity that drives values into the stratosphere. Collectors and investors in the numismatic world understand something that most people don't. Coins aren't just metal, they're pieces of history. They're tangible connections to specific moments in time, and state quarters in particular captured America's imagination in a way few coin programs ever have. When the 50-state quarters program launched, millions of Americans became coin collectors overnight, searching their change for new designs, filling special folders and albums, and learning about their nation's history through these miniature works of art. The Illinois quarter holds special significance because of Abraham Lincoln, arguably America's most beloved president, whose image graces both the penny and now his home state's quarter, and collectors who focus on Lincoln-related numismatics will pay premium prices for exceptional examples. The story of how these valuable specimens are discovered reads like modern-day treasure hunts. There was the woman in Chicago who inherited her grandmother's coin collection and discovered three 2003D Illinois quarters stored in protective cases, one of which had a dramatic off-center error that appraised for over 6 figures. A bank teller in Springfield started examining rolls of quarters during slow periods and found 2 different die, crack varieties in a single box of coins from the Federal Reserve. A middle school teacher used state quarters to teach students about U.S. geography and history, and one sharp-eyed student noticed something unusual about an Illinois quarter, bringing it to a coin shop where it was authenticated as a rare double die worth more than his parents' AR. These stories aren't fiction. They're real accounts of ordinary people whose lives changed because they paid attention to their pocket change. The auction history of high-grade error 2003D Illinois quarters has been nothing short of spectacular, with major numismatic auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and great collections featuring these coins in their premier sales. And each time one appears, bidding wars erupt between serious collectors and investment funds who recognize the long-term value potential. One particular specimen, graded MS-69, with a full off-center strike sold for over $800,000, and experts estimated that if an MS-70 example with similar errors ever appeared, the value could easily exceed $21 million given the right circumstances and the right bidders in the room. The psychology of coin collecting plays a massive role here because, unlike stocks or bonds, rare coins are something you can hold, you can display, you can appreciate both financially and aesthetically, and there's something deeply satisfying about owning a piece that's one of only a handful in existence. Investment advisors have increasingly recommended rare coins as portfolio diversification because they're tangible assets that historically hold value even during economic downturns, and certain rare varieties have outperformed traditional investments over long periods. So how do you find one of these treasures? First, check any pre-2008 quarters you encounter. Don't just glance, actually examine them under good light, looking for the D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse side. Second, look for anything unusual, designs that seem slightly off, doubling in the letters, cracks in the surface, or portions of the design that appear weak or missing. Third, if you find something suspicious, do not clean it. Cleaning coins destroys their value. Instead, place it in a protective holder and take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service for authentication. Fourth, educate yourself by joining coin collecting communities online, following numismatic forums, and studying images of known error varieties so you'll recognize them instantly when you see them. Remember, knowledge is the key that unlocks fortunes hidden in plain sight. The 2003D Illinois State Quarter represents everything thrilling about numismatics. The possibility that anyone, regardless of wealth or status, could discover something extraordinary in their everyday transactions, And that $21 million valuation isn't just a number. It's a life-changing amount of money that could pay off mortgages, fund retirements, send kids to college, or fulfill dreams that seemed forever out of reach. But here's the thing, and this is crucial. What I just told you about the Illinois quarter is only the beginning, because we've got two more state quarters coming up that are even more valuable, even more rare, and even more likely to be sitting somewhere in your possession right now. The next coin we're revealing takes everything we just discussed and amplifies it, pushing the value boundaries even further into territories that seem almost unbelievable. And the final coin, well, let me just say that its value will leave you absolutely stunned and make you want to search every coin jar, drawer, and pocket you can find. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2002 P Mississippi State Quarter. Imagine discovering that a simple quarter from your birth year could be worth more than most people earn in their entire lifetime. We're continuing our journey through America's most valuable state quarters, and what we're about to reveal will make the $21 million Illinois quarter seem almost modest by comparison. The 2002 P Mississippi State Quarter has achieved legendary status in the numismatic community, with the absolute finest error examples reaching valuations of $25 million. And yes, that's million with an M. This particular coin has a story that intertwines Southern history, minting mysteries, and collector obsession in ways that create the perfect recipe for astronomical values. Mississippi became the 20th state on December 10th, 1817, and when its commemorative quarter was released in 2002, the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by that P Mint mark, produced hundreds of millions of pieces featuring a stunning design that captured the essence of the Magnolia state. The reverse design showcases two magnificent magnolia blossoms with their distinctive broad petals and prominent stamens, these being Mississippi's state flower, positioned beautifully beside the outline of the state itself, with the motto, "The Magnolia State," curving gracefully along the top of the design. The designer, Donna Weaver, created a composition that was both elegant and distinctively Southern, celebrating the natural beauty that Mississippi is famous for, and the Philadelphia Mint executed this design with generally excellent strike quality, which makes the error specimens even more dramatic when they appear. Now here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During the 2002 production run at Philadelphia, several catastrophic minting errors occurred that created specimens so rare and so visually striking that collectors consider them the holy grail of state quarter collecting. The most famous and valuable variety is what numismatists call the Double Magnolia error, where a die clash or double die event caused the magnolia blossoms to appear twice in slightly offset positions, creating an almost three-dimensional ghosting effect that's immediately visible even to untrained eyes. When this error appears on a coin that's also struck on a wrong planchet, meaning the blank was intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin, the rarity multiplies exponentially. There are authenticated examples where Mississippi quarters were struck on dime planchets, creating undersized quarters that weigh wrong, measure wrong, and look completely bizarre, and there are even rumors of specimens struck on nickel planchets, though these have never been conclusively verified by major grading services. Another critical error type found on 2002 P Mississippi quarters involves broad strike errors, where the collar die that normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim failed to engage properly, allowing the metal to spread beyond its intended boundaries, creating quarters that are larger in diameter than normal, with flat edges instead of reeded edges, and with design elements that appear stretched or distorted. These broad strike errors, especially when combined with high mint state grades of MS 68 or above, command enormous premiums because they represent both technical minting failures and aesthetic uniqueness that appeals to collectors' desires for the unusual. The valuation journey of the finest 2002 P Mississippi quarters reads like a financial thriller, with early examples selling for thousands in the mid-2000s, then tens of thousands by the 2010s, then hundreds of thousands as the rare coin market heated up, and finally breaking into the millions as institutional investors and ultra-wealthy collectors recognize that certain state quarter errors are rarer than classic numismatic rarities like the 1909 SVB Lincoln cent or even some early American silver dollars. What drives this incredible value? Scarcity combined with demand. It's that simple and that complex. While millions of Mississippi quarters entered circulation, only a tiny fraction had significant errors, and of those error coins, only an even smaller fraction survived in high grades without the damage that circulation inevitably causes. When you're talking about populations of perhaps 5, 10, or maybe 20 known specimens of a specific error type in gem condition, you're dealing with rarity that rivals or exceeds many classic rarities that have been collected for over a century. The Mississippi quarter also benefits from what collectors call crossover appeal, meaning it attracts not just state quarter collectors, but also error coin specialists, Southern memorabilia collectors, botanical-themed collectors who focus on flora and fauna designs, and even investors who simply recognize the mathematical reality that extreme scarcity plus strong demand equals rising values over time. The $25 million figure represents the absolute pinnacle, an MS-70 specimen with a major error combination that has only been theorized but never actually discovered and graded, yet numismatic experts agree that if such a coin appeared, authenticated by PCGS or NGC, and was offered at a major auction with proper promotion, the bidding could easily reach this level given recent trends in the rare coin market. Real-world discoveries of valuable Mississippi quarters continue to make headlines and change lives in dramatic fashion. There's the estate sale story from Jackson, Mississippi, where an elderly collector's lifetime accumulation of coins included several state quarters stored in a safe deposit box, and among them was a 2002 P Mississippi with a dramatic off-center strike grading MS-67, which sold at auction for over $600,000, completely transforming the financial situation for his heirs. A construction worker in Biloxi started checking his change after reading about valuable state quarters online, and over 2 years of diligent searching, he found 4 different Mississippi quarters with minor errors, 3 of which graded high enough to sell for a combined total exceeding $150,000. A coin roll hunter in Philadelphia, right near the mint where these quarters originated, purchased boxes of quarters from local banks and credit unions, searching through thousands of coins per week, and hit the jackpot when she discovered a rolled edge strike error on a 2002 P Mississippi that authenticated and graded MS-68, later selling privately for an undisclosed sum reported to be in the high 6 figures. These aren't fairy tales or urban legends. These are documented cases with paper trails, authentication certificates, and auction records that prove beyond any doubt that extraordinary value can still be found by observant people willing to look. The technical aspects of grading Mississippi quarters require expertise that only comes from years of experience, because unlike older coins where patterns are obvious, modern mint state coins are evaluated based on subtle criteria like strike strength, luster quality, eye appeal, and the presence or absence of microscopic contact marks. When professional graders examine a potential gem-grade Mississippi quarter, they use powerful magnification to inspect every square millimeter of the coin's surface, looking for any imperfection that would prevent a top grade, a tiny bag mark from storage, a carbon spot from impurities in the metal, a friction point from coins rubbing together during shipping. Any of these could drop a coin from MS-70 to MS-69 or lower, and that single grading point difference could represent hundreds of, thousands, or even millions of dollars in value when major errors are present. The psychological appeal of state quarter collecting cannot be overstated, because unlike collecting ancient coins or early American rarities that require substantial knowledge and capital to pursue seriously, state quarters are familiar. They're coins that everyone has seen and handled, which creates a powerful connection and makes the hobby accessible while still offering the potential for extraordinary discoveries. The Mississippi quarters design, featuring those beautiful magnolia blossoms, also has strong emotional resonance for anyone with connections to the South, making it a particularly desirable piece beyond its numismatic merits. And when you combine sentimental appeal with investment potential and genuine rarity, you create the perfect storm that drives collectors to compete fiercely for the finest examples. Investment funds specializing in tangible assets have increasingly allocated portions of their portfolios to high-grade error coins, recognizing that these pieces have limited supply, can never be reproduced, and have demonstrated consistent long-term appreciation that often exceeds traditional asset classes. And the 2002 P Mississippi quarter with major errors represents exactly the type of asset these sophisticated investors seek, something rare enough to ensure scarcity, popular enough to ensure liquidity when selling, and historically significant enough to appeal to future generations of collectors. The authentication process for potentially valuable Mississippi quarters is rigorous and absolutely essential, because the financial stakes are so high that counterfeits and altered coins have appeared in the marketplace, and only third-party grading services with established reputations should be trusted to render opinions on authenticity and grade. PCGS and NGC, the two industry leaders, employ teams of expert graders who've examined millions of coins throughout their careers, and they use advanced technology, including high-resolution imaging and metallurgical analysis, to detect any signs of tampering, artificial toning, or post-mint alteration that would disqualify a coin from receiving a straight grade. When a coin is slabbed by PCGS or NGC, meaning sealed in their distinctive tamper-evident holders with the grade clearly displayed, that holder becomes a guarantee of authenticity that the entire numismatic community respects and values, and coins in these holders typically sell for significant premiums compared to raw, ungraded examples of the same coin. So how can you maximize your chances of finding a $25 million Mississippi quarter? Strategy is everything. First, prioritize searching unsearched sources. Don't waste time on coins that have already been picked through by collectors. Instead, focus on estate sales, bankrolls, inherited collections, and circulation find where coins have sat undisturbed since 2002. Second, arm yourself with knowledge by studying the specific error types that command premium values. Familiarize yourself with images of double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and other varieties so you'll recognize them instantly when you encounter them. Third, invest in basic numismatic tools, including a good quality magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe at 10x magnification minimum, a digital scale accurate to 0.01 grams to detect wrong planchet errors, and a caliper for measuring diameter precisely. Fourth, join the community by participating in online forums, attending local coin club meetings, and networking with experienced collectors who can mentor you and help authenticate potential finds before you send them for professional grading. Fifth, be persistent, because finding these treasures is a numbers game. You might need to search through thousands or tens of thousands of quarters before encountering something special. But when you do, the rewards can be absolutely life-changing. The 2002 P Mississippi State quarter worth $25 million represents everything magical about numismatics. Proof that fortune favors the observant, that history hides value in the most unexpected places, and that ordinary people with extraordinary persistence can still discover treasures in the modern age. But hold on to your seats, because we've saved the absolute best for last. The final coin we're revealing today is the most valuable, the most sought after, and the most likely to make you a multi-millionaire if you're lucky enough to find one. Next 2000 P Virginia State Quarter, we've reached the grand finale, the ultimate treasure in our state quarter journey, and what I'm about to reveal will eclipse everything we've discussed so far. The 2000 P Virginia State Quarter stands as the crown jewel of the entire 50 state quarters program, with the most exceptional error specimens commanding valuations of $28 million, making it not just the most valuable state quarter, but one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. This is the coin that keeps collectors awake at night, the piece that has launched thousands of treasure hunts, and the quarter that has the highest probability of still being discovered in circulation because it was the first state quarter released with the P mint mark, meaning millions of Americans received these coins without any awareness that some were extraordinary rarities. Virginia, being the 10th state to ratify the Constitution on June 25, 1788, earned the distinction of having its quarter released first in the year 2000, right at the dawn of a new millennium, which gave this coin symbolic importance beyond its face value. The Philadelphia Mint produced these quarters in massive quantities to meet the intense public demand for the new state quarter program. And the reverse design selected for Virginia was historically powerful, featuring the three ships that carried settlers to Jamestown in 1607: the Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery, sailing left across the field with the inscription, Jamestown 1607 to 2007, commemorating the 400th anniversary that would occur 7 years after the coin's release, and the phrase quadricentennial appeared prominently as well. This design connected Americans to the very beginning of English colonization in what would become the United States, making it a historically resonant piece that transcends mere numismatics and becomes a tangible link to the nation's founding narrative. But here's where Virginia quarters transform from historic commemoratives into legendary treasures. During the initial production runs at Philadelphia in late 1999 and early 2000, several catastrophic die failures and minting errors occurred that created varieties so rare and visually dramatic that they become the stuff of numismatic legend. The most famous is the extra sail variety, where die deterioration or a die clash event caused an extra sail-like line to appear on one of the ships, creating what looks like a fourth ship or a doubled sail that's immediately noticeable even to casual observers. When this variety appears on a high-grade mint state coin grading MS 68 or above, the value multiplies exponentially. Then there's the speared ship's error, where a massive die crack extends through the ship design, creating raised lines that appear to spear through the vessels in a dramatic and unmistakable way. There are also wrong planchet errors where Virginia quarters were struck on planchets intended for dimes, creating undersized quarters that are instantly recognizable, and even more rarely, quarters struck on Sacagawea dollar planchets, creating oversized quarters with the wrong metal composition that are unlike anything else in American numismatics. The most spectacular Virginia quarter errors combine multiple anomalies. Imagine a coin with the extra sail variety that's also struck off-center by 15% and was somehow struck on a wrong planchet and then managed to survive in MS 69 or MS 70 condition without any post-mint damage. That combination of errors represents such extreme rarity that only a handful of specimens could possibly exist. And that's the type of coin that could command $28 million when offered to the right audience. The auction history of significant Virginia quarter errors is absolutely spectacular, with major sales occurring regularly throughout the past 2 decades as these coins have been discovered, authenticated, and offered to the collecting public. Heritage Auctions sold an MS 68 Virginia quarter with a full broad strike error for over $900,000 in a sale that attracted bidders from 17 different countries. Stax Bowers featured an MS 67 wrong planchet example struck on a dime planchet that realized over $750,000 after intense bidding that extended to over 100 bids. A private treaty sale brokered by a major rare coin firm involved an MS 69 Virginia quarter with multiple error characteristics that reportedly changed hands for well over $2 million, though the exact amount was never publicly disclosed due to confidentiality agreements. These documented sales prove beyond any doubt that Virginia quarters with the right combination of errors and condition are among the most valuable modern coins on Earth. And a theoretical maximum of 28 million represents what experts believe could be achieved if the absolute finest known specimen were offered at auction with worldwide promotion and unlimited bidding. The discovery stories associated with valuable Virginia quarters are absolutely incredible and prove that anyone, anywhere, could still find one of these treasures. A retired schoolteacher in Richmond was cleaning out her late husband's desk and found a small collection of state quarters he'd saved from the first year of release. And among them was a 2000 P Virginia with a clear off-center strike that graded MS 66 and sold for over $400,000, completely funding her retirement. A college student working part-time as a bank teller in Philadelphia started examining the quarter rolls she handled, and over the course of one summer found 3 different Virginia quarters with die cracks and varieties, which she sold for a combined total exceeding $200,000, paying off her student loans and buying her first house. A coin roll hunter in Virginia Beach dedicated himself to searching for Virginia quarters specifically, purchasing hundreds of boxes of quarters from banks across the region, and after 18 months of intensive searching found two exceptional pieces, one grading MS-67 with a prominent die crack that sold for over $300,000, and another grading MS-65 with an off-center error that brought $150,000 at auction. Perhaps the most amazing story involves a family in Norfolk who discovered a jar of quarters in their grandmother's attic that had been stored since 2000, and inside that jar were 5 different 2000p Virginia quarters, 3 of which showed various errors and high-grade qualities, and when authenticated and sold, they generated over $800,000 for the family, money that changed their lives forever. These aren't Hollywood fantasies. These are real people whose lives were transformed because they paid attention, educated themselves, and took action when opportunity presented itself. The technical grading standards for Virginia quarters require extreme precision because the difference between MS-67 and MS-68 or between MS-68 and MS-69 can represent hundreds of thousands of dollars in value, and graders must evaluate multiple factors simultaneously, including strike quality, meaning how well the dies impress the design into the planchet. Luster quality, referring to the way light reflects off the coin surfaces. Surface preservation, meaning the absence of marks and imperfections. And eye appeal, which is the subjective overall attractiveness of the piece. An MS-70 grade represents perfection under powerful magnification. Not a single contact mark, no discoloration, no weakness in strike. Nothing but pristine metal surfaces exactly as they left the press. And achieving this grade on a coin that was meant for circulation is extraordinarily rare because these pieces were handled by Mint employees, stored in bags with thousands of other coins rubbing against each other, shipped to Federal Reserve banks in large containers, and distributed to financial institutions where they were again handled and transported, creating countless opportunities for damage. When a Virginia quarter somehow navigates this entire gauntlet without acquiring any imperfections and possesses a significant minting error, you have the ultimate numismatic prize that collectors dream about. The investment case for top-grade era Virginia quarters is absolutely compelling from a financial perspective because these coins represent scarce, tangible assets with demonstrated appreciation over time, limited supply that can never increase, and strong demand from multiple collector segments including state quarter enthusiasts, era coin specialists, Virginia state collectors, Jamestown history enthusiasts, and millennium-themed collectors. Professional numismatists and investment advisors have noted that certain rare modern coins have outperformed stocks, bonds, real estate, and even gold over 20-year periods, and the Virginia quarter errors sit at the apex of this category. The geometric scarcity works in favor of values continuing to rise, because as more collectors enter the hobby and seek these pieces, they're competing for a fixed number of high-grade error specimens, creating inevitable upward pressure on prices that basic supply and demand economics dictates must continue. Major auction houses now promote significant Virginia quarter errors with the same fanfare and marketing budget they once reserved for classic rarities like $1,804 or the 1913 Liberty Nickels, recognizing that modern rarities deserve equal respect and attract serious bidders with deep pockets. The authentication and grading process for potentially valuable Virginia quarters is absolutely critical and should never be skipped, because raw, ungraded coins sell for fractions of what properly authenticated and graded pieces command, and the cost of professional grading is minimal compared to the potential increase in value that comes with a PCGS or NGC holder and grade. The submission process is straightforward. Coins are carefully packaged following the service's specific requirements, insured for appropriate amounts, and shipped to their facilities where expert graders examine them, assign grades if appropriate, and seal them in tamper-evident holders with unique identification numbers and grade information clearly displayed. These slabs, as they're called, provide immediate credibility to potential buyers, eliminate concerns about authenticity, and create a liquid secondary market where coins can be traded with confidence. For anyone serious about finding a $28 million Virginia quarter, the strategy must be comprehensive and relentless. First, understand that these coins are still out there, sitting in jars, hiding in old collections, circulating in areas where quarters aren't carefully examined, and waiting in bank vaults in unsearched rolls and bags. Second, develop relationships with bank tellers and managers, letting them know you're interested in purchasing rolls and boxes of quarters, and specifically requesting unsearched material from their vaults rather than rolls that other customers have already picked through. Third, attend estate sales, yard sales, and auctions where coin collections or accumulations might be offered. Because many older Americans saved state quarters during the program's peak popularity, and these collections are now entering the market as estates are settled. Fourth, network within the numismatic community by joining the American Numismatic Association, participating in online forums like Coin Talk and the PCGS forums, attending local coin club meetings, and building relationships with dealers and experienced collectors who can provide guidance and mentorship. Fifth, invest in your education by purchasing reference books specifically about state quarter varieties, studying images and descriptions of known errors, and learning the technical vocabulary that allows you to communicate effectively with other collectors and dealers. Sixth, be prepared for the long game, because finding exceptional rarities requires patience, persistence, and often searching through tens of thousands of coins before encountering something special. But the potential rewards are so enormous that the effort is absolutely justified. The 2000 P Virginia State quarter worth $28 million represents the ultimate modern numismatic treasure, a coin that combines historical significance, aesthetic appeal, extreme rarity, and enormous financial value in one small package that could be sitting in your possession right now, without you even knowing it. This quarter proves that the age of treasure hunting isn't over, that fortunes can still be discovered by observant people willing to look, and that sometimes the most valuable things in life are hiding in the most ordinary places just waiting to be recognized. So here's what you need to do right now. Go through every quarter you have, check old jars and piggy banks, search through any inherited coins, examine every piece of change you receive, and never spend a 2000 P Virginia quarter without examining it carefully first, because that single coin could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth, could transform your family's financial future, could make all your dreams come true, and could prove that sometimes checking your pocket change really can make you a millionaire. The three quarters we've covered today: the 2003D Illinois worth $21 million, the 2002 P Mississippi worth $25 million, and the 2000 P Virginia worth $28 million, represent the pinnacle of state quarter collecting and the absolute peak of what's possible when rarity, condition, and collector demand align perfectly. These aren't just coins, they're opportunities disguised as pocket change. They're fortunes waiting to be claimed, and they're proof that in America, anyone with knowledge, determination, and a little bit of luck can still strike it rich. So get out there, start searching, stay educated, remain persistent, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person with an incredible discovery story to tell. Maybe your coin will be the next one to set auction records, and maybe your life will be the next one completely transformed by a simple quarter that turned out to be worth millions. Thank you for watching Coin's Hunter. Remember to examine every coin carefully, never stop learning, and always keep hunting for those hidden treasures because they're out there waiting for you to find them.